Welcome and maloile day, talo falava everyone on this Friday for our side of the world, for Thursday for your side of the world. Tua, it's good to have the viewers join us today. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, Patreon, Instagram, and X. How's everything going on your side of the world, Tua?
It's been good. The weather is getting warmer. Having to use the AC now in the truck whenever we're in the van, whenever we drive around. And that's in San Antonio. And as the viewers know, we're relocating the Polynesianized podcast headquarters to the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas.
Oh yeah,
And it's
the
only
Tin
getting
City.
warmer over there.
Nice, nice. That's cool. That's cool. Tua. And closer time zone, huh? With us.
Yes, that will help close the gap. It's a 2 hour improvement. So we'll pick up 2 hours in the
Mm,
time differential. So that'll make a big impact on the
awesome.
timing for our shows. And so we're excited. A lot of positive things from the move.
Shh, can't be angry about that or mad about that. More positive, more positivity is always good. Now everything is going good on this side of the world. It's really rainy.
Mm.
For everyone that's not in Auckland, New Zealand, really rainy here in Auckland. But it's good. Auckland apparently has been having a lot of drought, so it's good.
Ah,
We're having this rain. Yeah, it's been pretty dry here in the last few months, so it's good to have the rain. But yeah, everything's going well.
how bad? How
Can't
bad
complain.
is the drought over there, Masi?
I guess for New Zealand standards, it was pretty bad because New Zealand usually gets a lot of rain,
Mm.
but it was up to a point that the dam levels were getting really low. But it's getting to our winter, which a lot of the rain comes. So I'm pretty sure those dams will be filled here in Auckland. So yeah, and also good for the farmers because we know agriculture is the number one industry for New Zealand, how it generates its wealth. So important for the
100%. I
farmers.
need I need the farmers for that delicious New Zealand fruit, and then for the cows for the ice cream and the cheese,
They're
so we
still
can
gonna.
make the meat pies.
I was gonna say to it, they're still gonna sell on top of that 10% tariff Trump put on the
The whole
global,
world.
the whole world. So 10% in New Zealand is really still good because it's not like the 20s, 25 like some of the other countries.
Yeah, and I mean, China, I think is like 55 or 65
Yeah.
when you add the fentanyl and the other
Yes.
additional tariffs that Uncle Donald is putting on them.
Mm.
So, looks like we have an early comment here. UTOL says, "Malo kautama." Welcome to
Malo,
the show,
Malo,
Toko.
UTOL, Malo.
We have a interesting lineup for today. So really interesting topic. Hey, Nelly, thank you.
What's up,
Welcome to the
Nelly?
podcast. Um, we're going to talk about a topic that I think is very misunderstood. I think, Masi, right? With our ancient history, and it's tied to our ancient religion,
Mm,
colonization, and the new religion that's coming in.
mm,
And I think that's an important aspect to try and understand. We get the criticism sometimes that, yes, Tonga may have survived colonization, but it was colonized through Christianity, and really
correct.
it was
That's yes,
colonized in that
yes,
mindset. Um,
yes.
we really want to revisit that. Obviously, the Polynesianized podcast takes a very unique, I don't think anyone else out in social media or historically takes this position, and we adopt it from Tevita Fale's position of Hikuleo is Jehovah, right? From the Old Testament, and that's who brought Tangaloa and Maui
Mm,
and our who we call on the podcast our founding fathers of the Polynesian Empire.
yes,
So,
yes.
anything to add to that, Mussy, before we start with a young lady, a young Maori lady who went on social media to kind of express her position on this, but any kind of context you want to give Mussy before we jump on this video, first of three videos.
No, I like where we're going to. I like to. I don't think there's many people that can draw on the similarities between the ancient and the new religion. So, looking forward to discussing that more as we touch on it in many of our previous episodes. So, Yep.
Yes. So just kind of heads up to all of the viewers. So the goal is hopefully we can get through all of these. But we're gonna watch this video first from TikTok, from this young Maori girl who felt like she had to come online to defend her position of being a Christian believing Maori, and then we'll dive into another video that discusses how much atheism is growing in New Zealand. We already knew, right, Masi? You had already shared New Zealand, very, very material. And when I say that, I
Yes.
mean atheist, right?
Yes.
That's kind of like the overall trend, but it's now growing into the Polynesian community. And then the last video, hopefully, we'll get on to is the Offside podcast. What's the name of the individual? We're a big fan of their podcast.
Yes. Eliota Sapolu is kind of like the main. I don't know the other guys that assist him, but Eliota Sapolu is like the main kind of guy that gives his feedback and his perspectives. But yeah, former Manu
Okay.
Samoa player. Yeah.
Yes. And we're big fans, and we want to make this clear because we kind of get some people upset when we give, like, for example, I don't know if you've seen on our social media, Masi, but apparently some people drew conclusions that we were like putting down Kava University and his podcast and his content. We love Kava University. We've had him on the show, but
More than once. Correct.
just because we disagree with one or two little things doesn't mean we have to hate each other. It's just the ideas. Like we said on the podcast,
Mm,
we like the ideas to do the combating, not the
yes.
not the individual persons. But I wanted to bring
Yes.
that up a little, Masi. Any thoughts on that? On how much you hate um
Hmm. How
you
about
hate
our
them?
friend Lolo? No, he's a good he's a good person to collaborate. We've done a lot of collaboration work with him and going back and forth and reaction, and it's all part of the dialogue. I think people, that's the issue we have with our origin, right? Tua, people are not willing to put their true ideas out there because they're worried about you're going to be perceived as putting somebody down or
Mhm.
taking their idea out. That's not the case. We're just sharing our talanoa and let the talanoa just speak for itself. It's not like we're trying to pull somebody down or whatever. We're just sharing our idea and even just sharing our perspective and let the viewers decide and get all angles because it's gonna be I don't know. You won't be able to seek the truth if everyone's speaking the same kind of language. You know what I mean? Because we're in 2024 and we as a Polynesian people we still haven't gotten close or even to the part of discussing our origins because everyone's worried about being perceived a mean person or putting down somebody else because you're withholding that necessary discussion. But that's where it is. It's no issues with Lolo, and we've already spoke with him many times, and he's the same. I would agree to it. Like he's the same as us. He's just sharing his
Mhm.
perspective, Lolo Tuyaki, and we're just sharing us, and we're just as fellow Polynesians, just trying to share our knowledge of Polynesian history through our lens, and we're just sharing it through our Polynesianized lens, and that's all.
100%. And maybe you know what, you can accuse us, and I'll get to that accusation first, but let's get through a couple more comments.
All
Holly
right,
Prince says malo
Ollie.
tokowas,
Yep.
malo malo.
Hello.
And our official PR rep, Water Bear, says malo tokowas. And
What
then, like a true viney dove, nah to a I want that smoke.
Ooh. Hey, and Water Bears, we're looking to hopefully do release a episode with another Viney person too. So maybe you will know this person. So
Okay,
looking forward to it.
awesome. Yeah, we do have some interesting some interviews, right? And some people
Yes,
coming up. So we're excited about that. And believe it or not, Mr. Atearoa has been working real hard to get some of the academics that
yes,
we
yeah,
may not agree with their perspective on history, but we want to have conversations, right? When we
mm,
say we want the ideas to compete, or when they come up, it may not be directly on that topic, right? We want
correct.
people to come on, talk about what they want to talk about.
Yes.
If there's an idea that they say, hey, this is a really strong, really good idea, I think it can hold its own, we say
Yes.
throw it into the Polynesianized live digital Kava session arena, and we'll
Yes.
see which idea crawls out of the Kava Bowl as winner.
Yes. And that's what I've noticed too. Tua, you've always kind of have the open invitation for everybody, and that's kind of what we're doing here with academics or people who are non-academic that have their own personal views. Invite everybody and let everyone have a kind of say, and we'll just have a discussion. And it doesn't have to be right directly maybe at their origins, but it could be a part of our culture, or reviving a certain aspect of our culture, and we can kind of just ask questions about that, and it will all intertwine. It's almost like weaving a basket, from the coconut leaves. You'll be weaving other things, and you'll talk about a little bit about history and about certain aspects of the culture. So yeah.
100%. We have Pua Waske joining us from Facebook. He says, Ofa
Well,
Togoa, keep up the good work, boys, and teaching us about our culture. Ofa, always.
always
Malo Pua.
Maopua, and you're doing a good job with your guys podcast that you guys doing with culturally rooted, and I tune in with that too. So
Yes. I was just about to
Malopua,
say that.
Malongawe.
Yep.
Mm.
Big props up. It's as Pua and them know, it does take, I've been somewhat surprised in the amount of time and energy it takes to do a podcast. I think I underestimated it. But it's worth it. But it is an investment of time, and it takes some dedication to it. So I have a newfound appreciation for content creators. Right? I used to think,
Yes.
oh man, these content creators, they just go do this silly stuff. No, it takes time and energy. It is a skill, and it is an investment, because it's not easy to
Yeah.
do so. All right. With that being said, let's jump here and listen to our sister here from the Aotearoa and what she has to say. And I'm clicking on the wrong screen. Sorry. We need to
No
go.
worries.
I don't believe in God because of anything anyone's told me. I believe in God because I had a personal encounter with Him. Anyone who believes that Maori have been brainwashed into believing in God doesn't actually trust that Maori are powerful and we carry mana. We understand what we're doing when we choose to follow Christ. You are welcome to disagree, and you are welcome to your beliefs. I don't.
Very, very interesting. So she's being
Well,
attacked for believing in God as a Maori. Thoughts,
wow.
Mashi?
Interesting. I'm not surprised that she's been attacked. Like I said, it's been a trending that's been happening in New Zealand for a while. Remember, we're talking, and the census even showed that people who are just non-believers at all at any faith, that was the majority of the country. I think it was like 60%, and the minorities were Christians, and then Muslims and all of those faiths. And probably a big part of that is the majority. I don't know if I break it down, but I wouldn't say the majority, but it's either neck and neck, 50-50 in the Maori population, or maybe one is higher than the other. The Maori population, our relatives within the Polynesia, is you wouldn't be surprised if they don't even believe in uh, in God the Father and Jesus Christ. So
Hmm.
they, and not only that, it's they've taken. It looks like if she's being attacked, she's probably being attacked greatly because they're in a position that they really are advocating to deny. You know, to deny that there is a God or there is a Savior. So that's pretty. That's another level. There's people who just don't believe in God and just carry out their own business and just let people do. But it's another level when you don't believe in God and then you're looking to attack somebody who's a believer. So, that's another step. Like that's another step in the wrong direction. To That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So that's just my belief. To I don't know if you had anything to add.
So basically, what you're saying is, like Saul, who became Paul, and Alma the younger, the angel said, hey, if you want to not believe, that's fine. Go and not believe. But don't go around killing people, and don't go around destroying other people's faith, because, like you said,
Mm,
that's a further step in the wrong direction.
Mm,
right? And
mm,
so that's very interesting. Yeah, I thought it was interesting because the Maoris are one of the few cultures that we have witnesses or accounts of the early Maoris having, if you want to call it visions or if you want to call it prophecies of Christianity coming,
mhm,
of certain Christian, of basically saying there's a new religion coming, and that's the religion we need to embrace. And so
mm,
it was quite shocking to me, when you hear people like this who say, like she has on the top there, right?
yeah.
You're not a real Maori, you've been colonized because she's Christian,
Mm.
right?
Unfortunate.
Unfortunate, but here's something I like to do, and it's kind of like a I don't know, maybe for those sophisticated and educated people, maybe it's too simple for them. But for me, I take it, I'll say, okay, let's forget that I'm Christian and let's just say I'm going to take that approach, because basically what they're saying is because Christianity was introduced, and we'll just call it Christianity, the new religion,
Yes.
from Westerners, then therefore you've been colonized.
Yes. That's the
The
common thread we've been getting. Correct.
Yes.
Yep.
So the basic idea is this: anything from the West is bad,
Mm.
right? So what I would say for when I hear that: education's bad, cell phone bad,
Don't wear
TV
any
bad.
clothes. Don't wear any
Yes.
clothes.
Don't do any of those things. You better be living off the land.
Oh,
No technology, no
oh,
nothing.
tao wala and terefua.
Eh? And then
Mm,
and then I would still disagree with your position, but I would at least say, you know what? I have respect for you because you live what you believe,
mm,
right?
mm.
So that would be the biggest concern that I would have.
Yeah.
And
No.
go
Yeah.
ahead,
Oh, go
Masi.
ahead. Go ahead. No, I was
No,
gonna say
oh,
that.
hold on, Masi. We have to make a introduction here real quick. We have another guest that will be joining us for the live show here very shortly. And it's
Okay.
Mr. Maui Tekelangi is gonna join us. So we're gonna add him real
Oh,
quick.
nice, nice, nice.
Let's
No,
see
that's
right
good.
here. Oh
Oh, oh,
yeah,
oh, special
way.
guest.
I'm joining you with Boba Fett, the bounty hunter, and Darth Vader. So you know
Darth
I'm
Vader.
at Lee's house.
Okay.
Good to have
Oh
you. Good to have you with your company.
yes. Well, welcome to the show, Mr. Maui Tekelangi. Want to do a quick
Mm,
intro and let the viewers, you've joined us before, but it's been a while.
mm.
Yeah, I've been visiting Utah. Still in Utah. Be heading back to the Rock Kingdom of Tonga / Kingdom of Tonga in a couple of weeks. Joining you from the Fale residence in Provo, Utah.
Oh,
Oh,
And
oh,
so, Io. We just and birthday shout out to Reagan Tongavua Fale.
is that
We
her
just
birthday this
oh.
week?
so
Mm.
we just had cake and ice cream with the two aunties, Nina and Nelly, and Tongavua, and everybody at home. So
Nice. Happy birthday, Ray Ray.
Happy birthday, Tongavua, Regan.
Awesome. Well, we were just commenting on a video here, Maui, on the Maori woman who felt she had to defend her belief in Christianity and how, because she's Christian, she wasn't a real Maori.
that's an
So,
interesting topic. And so yeah, let's get into it. Let's have a look. Let's see what the fan now have to say.
yes. So, yeah, let's replay it so that Maui can hear. And
Mm.
quick shout out here. Ro Niwa says, throw us.
Hey,
Welcome, Ro.
welcome, welcome, Ro.
Malo. Let's bring back that video here real quick, and we'll replay it here for Maui.
believe in God because of anything anyone's told me. I believe in God because I had a personal encounter with him. Anyone who believes that Maori have been brainwashed into believing in God doesn't actually trust that Maori are powerful and we carry mana. We understand what we're doing when we choose to follow Christ. You are welcome to disagree and you are welcome to your beliefs. I don't.
There we go.
Hmm. Hmm.
Masi, you were going to make a comment and then we'll go Maui.
Yeah. Yeah. No. No. I was gonna say, Tua, it's interesting. I don't know why people would make comments like that. That just because you're not a just because you're not a follower of Christ, that somebody will add that you're not Maori. Like it's totally separate. It's like apples and orange, you know. But it's no. But that's what I'm saying, Tua. Right? It looks like our Maori brothers and sisters, they've gone to a point now. They've gone the step further that now they're like they're gonna attack you if you have a certain belief. So they're gonna attack you to your cultural identity and your spiritual identity. When and you can and right, this is just me and how I perceive things, right? A lot of people have prioritized their cultural identity as the most important thing, and the spiritual identity, especially if you align it with Christian, they put it against Western, like Europe colonization. It's like it comes with all of that, right? So they
Mm.
don't. When somebody speaks and attacks somebody like that, to me it just tells me what they prioritize. And if you prioritize that thing, hey, it's that's just your opinion. It doesn't mean you have to take somebody's cultural identity, because that's not the most important thing in their mind. The important thing in their mind is their spiritual identity, being a follower of Christ, and there's nothing wrong with that. So that's just my take over there. But right when you right, but that's the thing, right? To me, this is just my opinion on this. When you have your cultural identity to be the most important thing for you, I don't know you're going to be well equipped to deal with a lot of the challenges that you're going to go with through life in any aspects. When you're young, get older, or when you face some difficult times with your relationships with others, it's going to be very, very difficult, in my opinion. And I think you're better suited to deal with the challenges if you know your spiritual identity, and your cultural identity is important for your own unique self. It's like your own expression of your unique self as a certain group or a cultural expression that you do. But everyone is different. You can prioritize what you think is important, but that's just me. But I don't know if you guys have anything different from that.
Real quick, we have a couple comments. Ro Niwa says, I agree with Mr. Atearoa. The problem is there aren't any more real Maoris. And if there is, they ain't part of the discussion. Ay, Maria, Ro.
I don't know,
And then another
bro.
comment, real quick. T says, when you speak the English language, you're already colonized.
Right
Where
there.
do you draw the line, right? Like,
Where,
that's the
there's
problem with
no.
the
That's
thinking.
yes, yeah. No, that's the funny thing. And you know those people. This is just me. I'm just observing. The ones who really speak like that are the ones who go and still go eat the McDonald's. They still buy the canoe boats made out of the oil, and like they're buying all these things that are invented by the West. They drive their
Mm,
nice cars. You know what? They even drive fully electric cars that was created by the West.
by
But
Elon and his
by
guys.
Elon, see, but Elon, now Elon apparently is a bad guy because just of one
So
year
so so
election.
let me get this straight. Let me get this straight. The comments to the video were saying that she was not truly Maori because she was Christian.
Yes,
Yes,
she was
yes,
getting attacked.
attacked, and
She
she had
she
to put
looks
a
like she
video.
shares content on TikTok. She talks
Mm,
about her Christianity and her spiritual experiences, and then see like it
No,
says here.
it's like those kind of comments. If they're saying that she's not Maori because she's Christian, there's I mean, all respect to the Maori brothers and sisters, because I actually have genealogies that connect the Maoris by blood to Tonga. So like
mm,
but what I'm trying to say is what's funny about that is they're really speaking, and I agree with what Rose said. It's like they're speaking from a, a brainwashed, colonized
mm,
point of view because they don't understand where they come from. And that's why, and all respect to the Maoris, when Maoris get offended and say that they're not Pacific Islanders, I was like, last time I checked, Aotearoa is an island in the Pacific, my friends. And if you look where your ancestry came from, you came from the other Polynesian islands, my friends. And everybody knows, and it's proven scientifically, archaeology, Aotearoa was the last Polynesian island settled. So, I mean, the fact that you're offended when you say you're a Pacific Islander and you don't understand where you come from, you know, that in itself is telling you something about that point of view. This point of view that says that if you're Christian, then you're not Maori. If you're Christian and you're not Maori, that's like, these are people who don't understand where they come from. Like they're really colonized in the mind. And still colonized in the mind. Because, you know, if you understand where you came from, because like, look, there's a reason why Polynesians were circumcised before Europeans and Christianity came to the island. What is circumcision a symbol of? It's a symbol of being a descendant of Abraham and the house of Israel. So if circumcision came before Christianity came, there's already hints, and maybe we'll get into more of the ancient religion and what a lot of Polynesians today don't really know, and I don't expect them to know, because we got to speak the truth on the Polynesian Eyes podcast. All the islands in Polynesia were colonized except, sing it to me, Fale and Tua. Which
Kingdom
island?
of Tonga.
The Kingdom of Tonga.
That's why we're the last remaining kingdom in Tonga, because we were never colonized. And so I expect more of the truth of the yesteryears of Polynesia to still exist in the Kingdom of Tonga than any other colonized island. And so, just like what everybody's been saying, that if you're Christian, then you're not Polynesian, that's very funny, because it's like, it's coming from a place of people that clearly do not have an understanding of where they come from themselves.
Yeah, I mean, when you hear someone who says something so blatantly obvious like that, that's incorrect, like, oh, we're not Pacifica, we're not, you know, from Polynesians or Islanders, Pacific Islanders, then when you say God is not real, those are the kind of people that you like, if they say go right, you always go left, even if you don't even know anything about that decision, because certain people say go right, you just say, when those people say go right, I will just go left for the sake of it, because they never get it right. Let me see here. A couple comments from Water Bears. When Maori speak with their colonized British accent, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, where do you draw the line? Hey, Water Bears, I wouldn't be surprised, because, you know, where do we draw the line? I'm expecting that these people who reject Christianity because, quote unquote, they're Polynesians, when they blow out their knee in a rugby game, they don't go to the doctor to get surgery. They just go get some nonu leaves and massage.
Yeah.
Right. And then, hey, but where do you draw the line, right? Like, sometimes the nonu leaves are the right option. Sometimes having the surgery is important.
Well, I'm just thinking, while you're looking for some questions too, from our viewers, I was just thinking, what's caused the shift? Because now it's pretty drastic, right? That some of our Polynesian relatives, that's up to like I said, they've taken the next step on now attacking somebody, just sharing that they're Christian beliefs. But I'm just saying, man, what's caused this shift? And it's drastic shift that it's actually, this person felt really attacked overwhelmingly by her own people, and then now she has to come up and defend
herself.
What's the shift? What happened?
I think a big part is what Maui was talking about.
I think what's happening is what Brown Monk just said. The Maori need to repent.
Brown Monk, Malo Brown Monk. We had Brown Monk on the show a few days ago. Yeah. And for those who are listening, when we put this on our voice only podcast options, he says, Maori, foki kia sisu. Go back to Jesus. Go back to Jesus. So I think that's an interesting point. And I want to hear this from Maui real quick. We're gonna skip the video of the Maori, or maybe we'll watch it. We'll watch a little bit, but since we have Maui Tegelangi, I really want to get to the third video,
Oh,
because it would be, I think it would be
yes.
a misuse of the Maui Tegelangi resource here if we didn't leverage him on the third video. But we do want to watch a little bit of the next one. But one thing I do want to bring up, and Masi and I have already given our position on this many times, but some people use the exact same thing, Danny, on accusing Tonga of, quote unquote, being colonized, right? That Tonga was colonized through Christianity, and that the protectorate status actually makes Tonga that lost its independence, and that's why Tonga has an Independence Day. So quick response to that, Maui.
No, Tonga's Independence Day is not independence, it's emancipation.
Okay.
The 4th of June in the Tongan holiday, the emancipation of Tonga is when King Tupou I freed commoners from serfdom. That's what the Emancipation Day is. And some countries misunderstand that it was
as Independence Day.
Tonga. No, it was an emancipation of
edict of the people, huh?
Yeah, of serfdom from the Kami people, and that was done in 1863, I believe. So that emancipation even preceded the Tongan Constitution. And before we get into the videos, will I need Boba Fett or Darth Vader mask before I answer those?
Well, let me tell you this, Maui. For certain listeners who come here and troll us, they like to troll us, but we like it because at least they're listening to us. You already have Boba Fett and Darth Vader as you speak right now.
Yeah, and it's okay to troll, but they need to watch out for Boba Fett and Darth Vader now from the rest of here on out. Especially the bounty hunter. It was like, guys, look who's behind me. The bounty hunter's behind me.
Oh, Yahweh. Okay.
Shall we go to that? Go to that video.
We'll go to the video now, and well, let me go through our different views here. I gotta find the right view. Hold on. Man, where is this thing?
How's the weather over there? Oh, there we go.
It's gotten a bit cold yesterday and today, but I hear it's gonna start warming up because it was warm last week. Yeah, it's gonna be back to 70 degrees Fahrenheit next week.
Nice.
Back to good weather on that.
Yep.
All right, so this one's on the Maoris.
Over the past couple of decades, something big has been happening in New Zealand's religious landscape, especially among the Maori people, the indigenous people who since the early 1300s have lived on the islands of Aotearoa, now called New Zealand. In 2006, about 37% of Maori identified as having no religion. By 2018, that number had jumped to about 54%. At the same time, Maori affiliation with Christianity dropped from 46% to under 30%. In other words, as Christianity declined, non-religion rose at almost the same rate. Now, when people think about atheism, they often picture vocal secular movements in the West. Think Richard Dawkins or Christopher Hitchens, the so-called new atheists. But this frames atheism as a predominantly white and predominantly European and American phenomenon. However, around the world, indigenous peoples are increasingly identifying as non-religious, often at higher rates than the general population. In New Zealand, Australia, Canada, census data shows a clear trend. More and more indigenous people are stepping away from organized religion. But this phenomenon is woefully understudied. Sociologists, by and large, have not been paying enough attention. So a team of researchers at Victoria University in Wellington, New Zealand, set out to understand non-religion within Maori communities. What they found was that for many, Maori atheism is often tied to colonial resistance, rather than just personal disbelief. As in, for many Maori atheists, rejecting religion, and particularly rejecting Christianity, is not just about intellectual skepticism or the lack of belief, but a politically motivated position pushing back against colonial oppression and asserting Maori identity. Pre-colonial Maori culture was rooted in a polytheistic worldview that saw the divine, human, and natural worlds as inseparably linked. While they're culturally distinct, the Maori people shared traditions with other Pacific Islander groups, who trace their ancestry to a pantheon of around 70 gods, known as Atua. But these Atua are not distant, abstract gods. They are kin. All Atua are siblings who descend from the primordial parents, Ranganui and Papatuanuku, who gave birth to a range of deities governing different aspects, like Tangaroa, who governs the ocean and all marine life, and Rongo, the Atua of peace and cultivated food. Humans are genealogically and biologically connected to these primordial parents because they descend from the Atua. In other words, humans are not separate from the natural or supernatural worlds. They're fully integrated into an interconnected system where those distinctions don't really exist, and the Maori people built tribal societies consistent with this worldview, which is referred to as Te Ao Maori, a holistic way of understanding the world that emphasizes key aspects such as whakapapa, or genealogy. Everything is connected through ancestry, from humans to Atua to animals and to the natural world. And this worldview was the backbone of the Maori way of life until European contact.
Any comment on that?
That comment right there, connected to genealogy. See, that's when you know I'm a real Polynesian, because that's exactly what I said before we even saw this video. That you cannot give a truly authentic Polynesian perspective if you don't understand. The first thing any Polynesian needs to know is like where you come from, and that includes genealogy. And that's why it's so funny when you have Maori saying we're not from the Pacific Islands, and I was like, let me check your genealogy and I'll tell you exactly which island you came from. And so that's so I appreciate what this video is trying to say, but when they spell the Auckland wrong at the beginning of the video, it's already a warning flag for me. It's like a red flag. I was like, don't believe everything this video says.
Mr. Aotearoa, any comments on that?
No, just more of the. Now that I see some of the stats, I'm not surprised that that was 2018. Say how there was actually quite a few Maori over the 50% that actually don't believe in Christianity. Is that correct, Tua? From what I
Yeah.
saw,
Yeah.
right. So and then not only that, it's a trend, right?
It's
with
growing.
the native population in Canada and also the Aboriginal,
Australians.
the native people in Australia. So, it's I think Monk already mentioned it. It's just turn back. Hopefully you can be able to and you know what, just to bring it with a lot of the social issues, maybe that's and a lot of the social issues are affecting those people probably the most, right? When you're talking about a people that's been very spiritual and then it's kind of gone to a place that it's like they're trying to seek some other inspiration that's probably not a spiritual sense. It's leading to social chaos because now now it's in a social decay, and look, it's getting worse because things are not getting better.
No.
And I mean, that's the honest truth. It's not getting better. So that's what my thoughts are just regarding those statistics that I was looking at.
Maui,
Well,
looks like you had something to say.
No, and just to go along with what Aotearoa is saying, it's Mr. Aotearoa is right, because what's actually happening in the society in Aotearoa is, when I'm talking about the Maori society, there's definitely a decay going there, and they're trying to figure out who to blame. And you can easily see that the traditional way of thinking and the traditional values are no longer there. It's kind of like a mix of these Western values, which is very materialistic, but I don't want to put down Western values being all the way materialistic, because a lot of these Europeans that came to New Zealand, like, they came under the flag of Christianity and religion, and so under the flag of Christianity and religion, and so I think it's correct that what the video is saying, that they're trying to reject Christianity as kind of a form of protest against colonization. But see, this is where I think the current Maoris kind of missed the mark, in that they're not seeing the connections of what Christianity had with the tradition and ancient religion that Polynesians had.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's why Polynesians in all the islands of Polynesia recognized the values, recognized the similarities, and then when you dig deeper in history and the culture that is maintained, you can definitely see that there is some sort of connection with the ancient world, in the Isles of Polynesia, in the traditions. And I mentioned one, which was the circumcision, which was practiced throughout the islands until the early missionaries came, and then some of the islands stayed away from it, didn't practice it any longer. But traditionally, circumcision was practiced in all the islands.
Mm-hmm. Not 100%. And I apologize, guys. I haven't eaten today, so I'm eating as we go. This is my dinner and a podcast.
No worries.
You're like a true American.
Yes.
Eating on the go.
Eating on the go, fast food.
No.
One of the things on the video that stuck out to me, and it reminded me about Mr. Aotearoa's comment, the drive for the rejection of Christianity is not a individual commitment, as like the young lady who said earlier. She said, I believe in God because I had a personal experience with God. We noticed that in the video, what the respondents were giving in the study was, it was a political statement. It was a political statement to help them resist. And therefore, and what I find ironic is they're fighting against the colonists through the methods and the means that is fed to them from the academics who are the colonists. if you want to use that logic. So I find it kind of ironic that they're using the playbook of the academic, which is a colonized tool through their definition, because we're big proponents of education. It has its value. But I found that kind of ironic that they're rejecting it in that manner.
And that's exactly what's going on, because what a lot of the Maori don't understand is that the way that they're going about to protest these things, it's a very Western way to protest. It's not a Polynesian way to protest. If they understood their roots and what their ancestors would have done, it wouldn't have been this way. Because to come out and say, oh, you're not Maori anymore, like, it's because you believe in Christianity, that's very laughable in so many ways. But it just shows how in Maori culture, the post of what the values are has shifted from what it was in yesteryears to what academics and the colonizers think what being Maori should be. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. They're not defining it themselves, right?
Yes.
Where it says this is what's important to the Maori.
Being told what the definitions are and what it should be.
Any thoughts to that, Mr. Aotearoa, before we go through? We're starting to we kind of get this. Sometimes we appreciate all the questions and the interaction. Sometimes we get away from it. But any comments before we go through some of the questions, Mr. Aotearoa?
Yeah, just a quick comment, right? And then when the shift has been so great, and then I always I always look within. Then when you get people who know what you're supposed to be doing as a Maori, and you've gone straight off, then it's that generation, because like I said, it's been very materialistic, but because they get some materials from it, so they let this narrative keep going, and then you get a whole new generation that it's a lot more difficult to say what you guys been doing is the incorrect way, and it's been very different and very difficult, because now, right, just if those stats are correct, now the majority of them have just kind of gone off the boat pretty much. But hey, I believe in repentance. You can repent from anything, right? And you can always get back on the boat, but it's never too late. Never too late.
Yeah.
Just one more quick thing before we move on. From a Polynesian point of view, I would put those Maori religions together with the Christian religion, because I kind of view them as one and the same.
Mm.
because the nuances in the differences in translation of what the early missionaries thought they represented and what they actually represent is lost in translation. And so I don't view some of these Maori religions as separate from
Separate.
Christianity, from the Judeo-Christian tradition.
100%. We do take that position quite a bit. Here's a question.
Hey,
Oh, go ahead,
Tua,
Masi.
just one more thing. I'm gonna have to go. I got some things. My in-laws are here to move some of their stuff, so I'm gonna head out. Ofatu
Okay,
Tua and the viewers in
peace.
Maui Tagilangi. I'm pretty sure you're gonna come through here, Maui Tagilangi, on your way to Tonga. Yeah, so
Oh
catch
yeah,
you guys. Catch you
definitely.
later. Ofatu. Take care, everyone.
Okay, malo. So here's another interesting comment here that kind of goes along with what you said. Maui says, "Would you say our mythology is straight linked to the Nephilims?" Spell check. Oh yeah, wait. See. Now that you said that spell check, now people are getting uncomfortable. They have to put spell check in here. And those ones, fallen ones, who taught humanity the secrets of the gods. I mean, the Nephilim are definitely in the Old Testament. What exactly they're trying to describe, no one quite fully understands.
Yeah.
But the fact that we believe we have some kind of connection to the gods seems to have some parallels through the ancient Polynesian religious positions. What are your thoughts, Maui?
No, this is before the Polynesians ever. This question of the Nephilim is even before the Polynesians even came to the Pacific Islands. So that's going way back, even before Abraham. So I mean, I believe that Polynesians are the descendants of Abraham. So that's this question of Nephilims and what happened with Nephilims and fallen ones is like even way before Noah. So you have Noah, then you come down to Abraham, and then further down. So like this is even to me, it's kind of beyond the scope of what we're discussing about Polynesian and Maori religion and Christianity and colonization, which is way later.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess you could, in theory, say if there is a Christian connection, i.e., Old Testament, maybe.
Yeah.
Here's another interesting one. We accept the challenges from Egyptians were practicing circumcision years before any Israelite came about. Any comments on that?
Well, they're definitely they do come from the same house, but it's definitely known that the practice of circumcision was more carried out by the descendants of Abraham more than any other culture, and that's why the descendants of Abraham and the house of Israel are especially known to have maintained those traditions, because once upon a time all the descendants of Noah believed in God, but then as time went by, only the descendants of Abraham, and that's why he's known as the father of the faithful, is because they maintain the traditions and faith.
Yeah, that was what I was going to say. Just because Abraham and the house of Israel solidified that practice doesn't mean that God didn't have that same practice with other believers, but like you said, could have lost it over time. And just like the Egyptians, and let's say our Polynesian ancestors, they held on to certain parts of the religion that survived over time, but the meaning could have been lost or misinterpreted over time. So see that in there. Let me go back to another question here from Sarah Laban Fox. She says, quick question: what helped Tongans to accept Jesus? How is that different from the other islands? Want to take a swing at that, Mr. Atearo? I mean, Maui, sorry.
Yeah. Well, everyone knows the story about Taufa'ahau, Tubo the First, who actually tested early Christianity, and there were actually a number of miracles that happened. I'll share a couple real quick. When they were out fishing for sharks, when Taufa'ahau hadn't converted to Christianity yet, but one of the first Tongan Christian missionaries, Pitavi, was sent to help teach Taufa'ahau, and he always took Pitavi, this early Tongan missionary, with him everywhere, and they were fishing for sharks in Hawaii. And then the king's spear was speared a shark, and then the shark didn't die, and the shark went off with his spear. And so Taufa'ahau said, Pitavi, is your God the true and one living God? And then Pitavi said, definitely. And so he said, if your God is the true and living God, you'll jump and get the spear from Taufa'ahau, because Taufa'ahau was a personal name of the ancient priestly line in Tonga of the House of Kautai. And so, and the shark was a representation of the ancient priestly line. And so Pitavi, on his own accord, jumped in, went after the spear, and Taufa'ahau said, you better not come back without the spear. And so they finished their fishing trip, and they go back, and they're having a Kava ceremony with the king at the head. And Pitavi comes back with the king's spear in his hand, and then he lays it outside the Kava circle. And when he was about to approach the Kava circle, the king cleared out the third position on his right, and so the missionary sat down there. And so in the Methodist tradition and most Christian traditions in Tonga, the clergy take that position when the traditional chiefs who own that position are not there
present
personally, are not present there, then the clergy takes the third position in the Kava circle next to the king. And so that's one of the miracles that happened. The final miracle that converted Tupo the first was after Pitavi returned the spear, and a couple of months later, they were walking on the beach at low tide with the missionary, and the missionary was holding an umbrella over the king's head to block the sun from the king. And they were talking about God, how God is all powerful and almighty. And Taufa'ahau told Pitavi, the most powerful thing that I can acknowledge and have experience with and understand and believe is the ocean. There's nothing more powerful in the world than the power of the ocean. And mind you, it's low tide, and they're walking on the beach. And so as they're walking, the king walks out on the sand flats in Hawaii, because everyone knows the islands of Hawaii are known for their sandy beaches. And the nickname for the Hawaii group is actually the Sands, or Fo'i'one'one. And so they walk out on the sand out to close to the reef around the island. And on a sandy patch, the king tells the missionary to close the umbrella and hand it to him. And the missionary hands it to Tupo the first, and then he takes the umbrella and he sticks it in a piece of sand that's sticking out of the ocean because it's low tide. And he goes, if your God is almighty and all powerful like you say, he'll be more powerful than the ocean, and we'll come back after high tide and the umbrella will still be here. So they go out to the beach, and they stay there the whole day, because, you know, in a 24-hour period, there's 2 high tides and there's 2 low tides. They're waiting there for the high tide to come in, and for the whole day and whole night, the tide didn't come in. It didn't come in twice. They missed 2 high tides that day. And so the umbrella stood for 24 hours on that little pile of sand out by the reef. And they went there the day after and picked up the umbrella out of the sand, and that's what convinced Tupo the first and why he decided to be baptized and take on Christianity. And mind you, that's besides all the similarities of some of the ancient traditions that Taufa'ahau, mind you, was the new name given to Taufa'ahau that he took upon himself when he left the sacred compound that he was dedicated to at 2 years old, because he was very sick when he was 2 years old.
Mhm.
And his parents took him. They tried all different kinds of medicines and all the medicine men, and he didn't get healed. And they finally took him to Kautai at his home in Ahau, and he was able to cure him over the first night. And the parents dedicated him to the ancient religion and to stay and serve Kautai. And then when Taufa'ahau grew up, well, his name was Nginingini Ofolanga, and he wanted to leave and go back, return to his parents. He found out when he got older who his real parents were, and he wanted to go to his father, who was the Tu'iha'apai at the time. And to make that happen, Kautai had to do a personal sacrifice, and he did the personal sacrifice, and then he also changed Nginingini Ofolanga to Taufa of Ahau, or the little storm, from, because a Taufa is a short little storm, from Ahau, which is the ancient religious compound. So they changed his name to Taufa'ahau, or the small little storm from Ahau. The idea being that even though he leaves Ahau, but he takes Ahau with him, inside of him. And so that little storm will be carried about. And actually, it's interesting because he started destroying some of the false priest houses that some of the local chiefs in Ha'apai had set up that were not officially from the house of Kautai, which was considered the true religion, and did not have proper authority because they were not from the correct lineage. So he actually starts destroying some of these priest houses in Ha'apai even before he becomes Christian. And then when he became Christian, all houses that were not of the old religion were destroyed, including all related titles throughout the Kingdom of Tonga. And so only titles that derive from the house of Kautai, which was considered the true ancient religion, have been maintained up to this day. As a matter of fact, the last holder of the title of Kautai just passed away last year. So there's the new Kautai has not been installed yet.
Okay. And I think that's really important because we talked about that a little bit. And I think that story is the perfect segue to get into this next portion of the videos. But some of the things that kind of stick out to me that are interesting is the scriptures are relatively clear. You do not tempt God, right? Like when how many times have we seen examples of someone says, I will believe in God if God will do X or Y? The rare instances is when their people seem to be sincere and there is a unique or rare calling to that group or to that person that God says, he doesn't see that as tempting him. He's actually seeing that as a sincere engagement, right? Yeah. Into truth. And so I find that very interesting that in Taufa'ahau's situation, it wasn't seen as tempting God, and God actually responds very favorably to that. And this challenges that notion that Taufa'ahau was only seeking this, because that's the other thing is people always say that the Taufa'ahau was a sellout, right? He just saw the rifles and the guns and the Christians. He was a sellout, and that's why he did it in Christianity. And then this further shows that this lesson that he learned, personal, like the young lady that we showed in the beginning, Taufa'ahau had the same experience like her. Yeah. Taufa'ahau says, I'm not just going to believe it. Yes. Taufa'ahau, like the young Maori lady, says, I don't believe it because other people told me about God. I believe it because I had direct personal experience with God. And that's why I believe in God. Hence, we can only say that had a huge influence just by observation when there's that huge discussion on how we're going to protect Tonga, right? Which superpower or which of the powers in the world. Taufa'ahau had already learned there's only one power that is supreme.
Yeah.
And tested it multiple ways.
And he did test it like you said. And when the chiefs got together on which major European power that Tonga would first make their first formal treaty with, and then some said America, some said Germany, some said England, some said France. And then after a long discussion, Taufa'ahau said he believes that Tonga's first treaty should be with God. And then that's when he had the famous ceremony in which he dedicated all of Tonga to God. And so even after he became Christian, you could see the sincerity of what he believed because of what he first did. If he was a sellout and he just did it for the guns, go to the country that gave him the most guns.
Exactly.
Go to, you know what I mean? Go to who they perceived was the strongest country. And it even after they dedicated Tonga to God and they were thinking of what the flag of Tonga should be, some said, we should some of the chiefs in Tonga said we should put a bear because the bear is the biggest and strongest animal. And some said it should be the lion. And then some said, no, we should put the swordfish because the swordfish is the mightiest fish in the ocean. And then eventually Taufa'ahau again said the perfect symbolism of who Tonga should represent them is God. And that's why we have the cross with the blood of Jesus Christ, and then the white field representing that though your sins may be as crimson, they can be as white as snow
From Isaiah,
from the blood of Christ. And so that's why Tonga's flag is a field of red with a red cross that has a field of white. And so again, we see that Taufa'ahau was not selling out to a country, or we might have had a flag that was similar to Hawaii's flag that had the Union Jack of England on it. And then they tried to marry it with the American flag with the stripes. And so the Hawaiian flag was a mixture of the Union Jack of Britain and the American flag. Tonga's flag would have been something like that, but it was something totally different because of the personal experiences that Taufa'ahau had with God and his understanding of what the traditional religion was, that it was one and the same. And so it was easy for a lot of Tongans to follow.
Yeah, 100%. And a couple of things, and we'll jump into this video next from the Offside show or podcast here. There's a couple observations I want to add here. And the first one is, like you were mentioning, if Taufa'ahau was a political animal, purely political, because he had some political acumen, but if he was purely political in his mindset, he would have done exactly what you said, right? I'm going to make a political calculation, but against all what you would call intuition, he goes, no, we're going to go with the thing we cannot see, but we know exists and can stop oceans and can influence nature and all of that upon it. And so, and the other thing I want to mention, and I don't want to come across the wrong way, because sometimes we do get accused of, oh, you guys only talk about Tonga and you guys are only lifting up Tonga. We're just trying to speak as objectively as possible with this context. Tonga's ability to maintain its independence is not purely something that quote unquote Tongans should only be proud of, right? We believe in the Polynesian nation. We haven't asked that question of Maui, but Masi and I have discussed this. We believe in the Polynesian nation, the Polynesian empire, right? Civilization, whatever you want to call it. And the fact that a portion of our civilization survived colonization, that is something that every Polynesian should be proud of, right? Because that's something that our group, our people, through the religious understanding that they had in their faith, the political understanding, and all those things combined, it just so happened that Tonga, or Tongatapu specifically, was the capital, that all things flowed there, and there's certain advantages of having that. And I want to say the last part to this, and then we'll move to the video, is many are called, but few are chosen, right? And I think that explains a big reason why Tonga was able to survive. For whatever reason, the guy upstairs said, we need this little portion to survive, right? We need that. And, you know, I read certain things about the Hawaiian, the kings and the queens of Hawaii. They tried to include Christianity in their constitution and how they did their laws and so forth. But for one reason or another, where the Lord seemed to directly intervene, was Tonga's situation. Any closing thoughts on that, Danny, and then we'll get into the video.
Yeah, there's a very important ceremony during the Kava ceremony that that was unique to Tonga that the other Polynesian island chiefs and kings of the various islands didn't practice because they were not the root of the Polynesian extended family or empire. I like to think of it as the Polynesian extended family because Polynesia was actually arranged in extended families back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
From all the outer islands that rooted back to the islands in Tonga. And so if the most of the time when the kava is being prepared in the king's kava ceremony or a high chief's ceremony in Tonga, the branches are always broken off of the kava plant before the roots are pounded and served and mixed and served. But the other islands, the kava could be served while the leaves and branches of the plant were still on the plant, and they would take the kava to the ceremonial cutters and pounders while the leaves were still on, and then those preparing it would take the branches and leaves off, with the idea being, and what Tonga was meant to preserve was, even if the branches get broken off, it's important that the roots be maintained, because if the kava plant, after a storm happens, and if you're a kava plant grower, you need to go out and break the branches that haven't been broken off just above the root for the kava plant to survive. Because if you have some branches that are still sticking out after they've been broken after a storm, it will rot all the way to the roots. But if you go trim it after, and all kava farmers know this, if you go trim it close to the roots and you sacrifice the branches so that the roots can survive, the plant will regrow. And that's what I see happen to the Polynesian extended family. A lot of the branches were broken off because of a huge wave and storm from Westernization and Europe, but the roots have survived.
Yeah, 100%. And last interesting comment that I forgot to bring up. I find it ironic, Taufa'ahau's name, the little storm. I also find it ironic from Ahau. I also find it very ironic that Kautai saves him, right? Cures him. Then he makes a sacrifice. Then he feels like what that oddly resembles Samuel, an anointing of a king. It is oddly very similar from when you hear the story and you hear the name, the little storm that will go out of Ahau. And what does a storm do? It breaks off all the branches. It goes and it mixes up the whole situation, the whole, typically accepted status quo. And when you have that shakeup, there's an opportunity for something new to be reborn of that. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
And so we see that God still works in.
Yes.
This is the modern Kava circle. And when you come to the Kava circle, everybody's open and welcome, and everybody, it's definitely a Kava session rule. Everyone has to keep an open mind.
Yes, 100%. And like always, be bold, ask the hard questions, and let the ideas do the fighting. You know, if you got an idea that you think has a new technique and a new move, bring it. Let's test it out and let's see how fun it performs. You know, we like the UFC to see different styles and new ideas, you know, new skills. No different. It's just a mental MMA when you come to the digital Kava sessions here on the Polynesianized podcast. With that being said, thank you all, everyone. Appreciate the comments, the interaction. We try to integrate it as much as we can. But until next time, peace.
Ovado.
Ovado.